or an explanation, I asked Dr. Enes to come first, and he said I can't come. So I asked him, can we do Skype? He said, well, I have many medical appointments these days, I'm not sure where I'm going to be. So I said, can you record a video, just like Jasir did? He said, no, I don't have equipment. So he said, I'll write my remarks and you'll have to read them. And then he said there will be about 20 minutes. I tried to plead with him to make it 10 to 12 minutes, but anyone who's ever worked with Dr. Enes knows that there is only one conclusion to that discussion, and that is that I had to accept the way that he proposed. So I'll read his, but you will see it's beautifully written, and I hope I'll do it justice. And I'll try also not to go too fast, but also not too slow, because then it would take too long a time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and good afternoon to you all. First, my warm apologies to Suzanne, Fakhri, and the whole family for not being able to attend in person and not being able to read my tribute on Skype. The first time I met Dr. Jamal in 1979, I was carrying a book on Western thought, and he, characteristically, glancing at the title, wanted to read the blurb and know my impressions as to its contents. During that short casual meeting, I discovered that we shared a passion for books, not realizing, fact being stranger than fiction, that 5 years later we would work together on the same project and eventually focus on books and publications. This passion for books was to stoke the fires of a solid friendship and a fruitful and professional working relationship that was to last until the day he left us. When I first became involved with the IIIT as part of the London office, we were largely responsible, among other things, for the translation of books and papers, which once complete, were then sent to the USA for layout and design and finally print. To our regret, the finished product would often fall short of expectations. The problem was that once typeset, the work was not checked carefully, meaning that it would be printed containing embarrassing amounts of typos and other errors introduced during the design stage that did little credit to the standing of the IIIT or its professed objectives. Furthermore, the ethos at the time was to produce standardized academic, almost journalistic-looking covers, whose uniformity, whilst designed to elicit instant intellectual recognition, in actual fact produced an across-the-board dull flatness, making IIIT publications appear boring to look at, with repetitive colors which would quickly become almost washed out after being exposed to the elements. These concerns were raised a few times with Dr. Jamal, because he had an air of calm determination about him, coupled with a drive that sought and tried to bring out the best in things, whether people, projects, or in this case, publications.
It will be good to look at the screen because there are so many things and listen to.
Yeah, there are only two pictures actually, but you can also look at me.
You are very handsome.
I don't think I'm that bad to look at.
You have my ears. I have my eyes.
So continuing, we had a refinement in taste that came almost naturally to both of us, so I knew he would fully understand the significance of issues raised, particularly as he was becoming far more involved with the publication side of things. I stressed, and he strongly agreed, that our publication should be at the cutting edge of what was out there, both in look and content, with an aesthetic quality that would make them not only attractive to readers, but sit on equal footing with any book found in mainstream bookshops or university libraries. The objective was clear. Dr. Jamal and I agreed on the need for a paradigm shift and to take a first step by convincing the trustees to do away with the old format. We raised the issue the first opportunity we had during a meeting with the trustees. It was agreed that we could initiate a new format for some titles, but maintain the old one with others. The decision of the trustees opened the door a crack, and the London office, headed by a Maslawi, immediately put its foot in the door. According to Shakespeare, action is eloquent, and whilst I had not convinced the trustees to open it fully, I seized the opportunity, taking Shakespeare's advice, and got things moving. It was late 1999, and there was at the time a particular translation we had just completed its revision and editing, and which was ready to send to the US for layout and design, and then final print. This was Malik Bedri's Contemplation, an Islamic psycho-spiritual study, which the cover that you see here in one of the picture. So I decided to produce it under the new format, and furthermore not to send it to the US, but have it designed in-house and printed by Cambridge University Press, renowned for the quality of their work. Whilst we were complete novices at this point with regard to the whole printing process, we decided nevertheless to jump in at the deep end, risking the possibility that Dr. Jamal and the trustees would object to the unauthorized unilateral action we had chosen to take and reject the product. If so, I was quite prepared to pay for the cost myself, a gamble that no one with strong Maslavi roots would ever even consider. I am sure Dr. Hisham, Ubay, and other Maslavis present today are now seriously questioning my genetic roots and may demand a DNA analysis, which I would gladly accept to do, but only if they pay for it, or if Dr. Yaqub does.
That's
what it says. The decision to take this unauthorized unilateral action was not in defiance of rules and procedures. I am a team worker, and always have been, and a stickler for rules, but I did it for two reasons. First, the trustees opened the door a little, giving me the opportunity to push it wide open. Moral of the story, never open a door to a Maslavi. You will live to regret it. Second, and most importantly, knowing Dr. Jamal well, I was counting on his positive reaction and full support as chair of the publication committee, and I was 100% right. By the way, speaking of Maslavis and door opening, I recall a joke which Dr. Jamal loved very much and wanted to hear again and again. It goes like this. A Maslavi once wrote a message next to his doorbell saying, "Don't ring the bell and waste my money on electricity. I check every 5 minutes to see if anyone's at the door."
Because that costs money, electricity.
We at the London office waited with bated breath as final printed copies of the book were sent to the US. Dr. Jamal telephoned immediately once he received a copy, and then twice again on the following days, utterly delighted and gushing with admiration, to put it mildly, all the while showering praises on the work, stressing that was exactly what he wanted the paradigm shift to produce. He was happy by the level of typography, the choice of paper, the quality of internal typesetting and design, the editorial accuracy of content, and of course the powerful cover. Dr. Jamal invited me to the US for discussions. Of course, we were both like-minded, and the whole thing made complete sense when we both put it to the trustees. So a decision was taken for the London office to be fully in charge of book production and to oversee the whole process from copy to print. We were fully authorized to employ the new format as we saw fit. So a new look and trend for IIIT publications was born in 2000, and all of us have not looked back since. The manner in which Dr. Jamal fully supported the work cannot be overstated. For us, as this new serious work began, we gained valuable experience and developed our skills, refining and honing aspects as time went on, throughout it all working closely with him and the Publications Committee. And as the role of the Publications Committee further developed, we benefited greatly from their support. Dr. Jamal and I, sometimes joined by other colleagues or trustees, had several in-depth discussions on the balance between quality and quantity that needed to be delicately maintained, and to what level we could safely compromise on one in favor of the other. It was a subtle issue, but clarity eventually emerged and was agreed upon. One thing was obvious, that in order to make an accurate and fair performance assessment, correct indicators would need to be chosen and adopted. Statistics is like any other tool. It can be, and has been, used, misused, and often abused, whether unintentionally or even intentionally, depending on dynamics or agendas. Numerical indicators by themselves can be misleading, counterproductive, and even dangerous. One should move along the lines of performance metrics and key performance indicators as a measure of success and efficiency. It is easy to get lost in the numbers, bean counting, rather than understanding the significance and the impact of the outputs and the objectives guiding IIIT work. Numerical indicators, we agreed, often lead to a cheaper by the dozen approach, whilst performance metrics and key performance indicators are more closely linked to planning and management. Both in the end must be linked to a notion of achievement and success, which itself must be defined according to objectives and mission. In other words, success is not always defined in numerical terms only, but in many cases in terms of quality and impact. Beyond dispute is the fact that a certain percentage of the manuscripts the PC accepted for publication is of average and sometimes poor quality, requiring substantial work. Granted, they may be largely original and highly relevant to IIIT's vision, but this does not excuse the fact that they are sometimes of such poor standard that editors are brought to the point of despair. Under ordinary circumstances, no publisher would undertake to accept them. But this is the point. IIIT does not operate under normal circumstances. When driven by utter frustration at authors' lack of response and cooperation, I would pick up the phone to Dr. Jamal, voicing complaints as to the quality of the manuscripts being sent to us. His calm, reassuring voice would quickly smooth things down as he gently advised and reminded that IIIT's ethos and vision were different, that we were not just any other publisher, but one with a mission, which was to promote aspiring young authors and academics whose voice would probably not be heard elsewhere, by developing and better presenting their ideas in fact which were absolutely vital if we are ever to succeed in reforming Islamic thought and integrating knowledge. IIIT's essential obligation and one of its raison d'etre, Dr. Jamal would emphasize, was to give authors and their important ideas a platform. And we all need to exercise great patience, he would advise, and go not only the extra mile, but the extra miles in the wider interest of human societies and IIIT's objectives, even if this required substantial work other publishers would never do. This was not to mean that we played doormat and fully surrendered to the laziness and prevarication of some authors. Far from it. We adopted a good cop, bad cop approach with regard to those who didn't respond or who took far too long to do so. It goes without saying that Dr. Jamal's role was the good one. He would dictate to Haja nice, courteous, and encouraging letters to the authors, with Shiraz at our end echoing the same attitude and providing them with solution-based options. If this did not work and non-cooperation persisted, I would step in with the bad cop routine. A one-sentence email would be sent to the effect that if steps toward improvement were not taken and we received no response to the information requested within a week, work on the manuscript would be stopped to the point ultimately of rejection. This worked almost 95% of the time. Having said this, I must add that many authors did in fact cooperate fully with our editorial team, and it was a pleasure to work with them. One in particular who happens to be with us today on the panel is Dr. Catherine Bullock. She set a brilliant example. She did such a fantastic job on her manuscript and worked with us so seamlessly that the book was published, if I remember well, within 6 to 8 months of being received by us, one of the fastest in our production schedule. Thank you very much, Catherine. To both Dr. Jamal's utter delight and our own satisfaction, we received few months before his passing an extremely significant comment from a well-known British intellectual, prolific author, and critic in relation to one of our publications. This critic in the past had not viewed IIIT or its mission favorably. Subsequently, he had a complete sea change of perspective in our favor. He remarked, any Muslim intellectual worth his salt must read his book, must read this book. He will remain nameless, but if you knew the stature of the man, you would understate the weight of his statement and the joy of Dr. Jamal with this conversion. So much so that this critic, a very close friend now, has to date helped us distribute 2 IIIT titles and some of the BIBs, books in briefs, to a gathering of over 100 academics and intellectuals. The book, which took him by surprise and which he admired, took 3 years of endless correspondence with the author to produce. We had to rewrite and restructure a significant amount to bring it to the required standard. 3 years with an author requires patient perseverance, and Dr. Jamal takes full credit for this, for it was he who encouraged this working style. The internet era, by now almost in full swing, some call it the information age, meaning that information now was not only commonplace, but indeed a baggage, suffocating both intellect and time by the sheer volume that was demanding reader attention. In addition, getting in the way of reading time were social media and mushrooming emails, drowning people both in the office and home. People still had a desire to read, They always will, but little time to devote to what was now being considered luxury, with books of 200 plus pages looking particularly difficult and time-consuming to read. To help address this new age problem, a number of initiatives which Dr. Jamal strongly supported and delighted in were put forward. The first was the Occasional Paper Series, followed by the AMSS UK Occasional Paper Series, and the Audio Library Series in English and Arabic, which consisted of audio versions of some occasional papers and certain other papers presented at various events. The latest of these was the IIIT Books in Brief series. For this series, we are indebted to the initiative already taken in this area in the US by Ubay, supported by Dr. Jamal, Dr. Abu Bakr, and Iqbal, in producing books in brief for relevant but non-IIIT books. With the IIIT Books in Brief series, the idea was to take the hard work out of reading and make distilled knowledge of some issues available in synopsis form. I want to reaffirm that without the continuous blessings and guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the full support of the publication committee in the US, our small team would not have been able to achieve what we did. There is no blowing of trumpets here, for it has always been a team effort of the one in Europe, which we have, as you know, Brexited recently, and our colleagues across the pond in the US. Both deserve the credit for the part they played, which led to 2 awards. The Muslim News 2015 Award of Excellence for Creativity in Islamic Thought, and the Award for Excellence to the AMSS UK in 2002, as well as the endless compliments received from authors and readers. Dr. Jamal held the helm wonderfully, and we miss him. There was a vast distance between us, we on one continent and he on another, and although we met frequently in the UK, the US, and many other places, a great deal of our discussions took place on the phone, mostly during ungodly hours. At times, either when he was in the middle of enjoying za'atar zayt and zaytun at breakfast, or when I was having a late dinner at home, giving full credit to both Susan and Maryam for their patience, tolerance, and support. The PC, that is Publication Committee, continues to function well. This, in no small measure, testifies to the role Dr. Jamal played in its evolution and development, and to the strong spirit of teamwork and professionalism that continues to guide its work. Now, as you have seen, we agreed on many crucial issues, but there was one we could never agree on: food. He loved his meat, couscous, and other variations, while I preferred much lighter meals or sandwiches. We traveled together often, on many occasions joined by Dr. Hisham, and I would dread the lunchtime or dinner scenarios. Let's just say a certain hot, under-the-collar feeling would intensify when invited to join them, for Maslavi courtesy dictated I could not refuse. And Dr. Jamal would play innocent, holding out the offer until I accepted it. As mentioned, one of the qualities that Dr. Jamal helped cultivate with regard to recalcitrant authors was sabr, sabr, and sabr. I was now to put it to good use, and I don't know which was easier to deal with: difficult authors or Dr. Jamal's favoring such meals, looking at me across the table with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. But seriously, these lunches and dinners were not about food, but always were heavily work-oriented affairs, forming the backdrop to long, often intricate discussions on business matters lasting long hours that would leave me at least drained and exhausted. Both Dr. Jamal and Dr. Hisham would often amuse themselves about what they called my weird habit of eating bread cold. And like Reuters, or Reuters, I've heard both, I guess Reuters, right? The
Reuters.
international agency,
Reuters.
They wouldn't be shy of broadcasting this to whoever we happen to eating with, and how I sometimes put the bread in the fridge to cool if it happened to be warm. It was a source of great interest to many, and before long, the affectionate jibe would be pitched in my direction. Well, the whole universe eats bread warm, Abu Siddiq. I think even Prophet Ayub would be pleased by the state of sabr I had at this point acquired. And so my response would always be a very confident, when then I am right and the whole universe is in error. I miss the ungodly hour phone calls, the meetings, the trips, and the discussions. Maryam and the very small team in the UK joined me in praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless his soul and shower him with his mercy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.